Welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. Today I'm filming a very exciting video. It's an official vlog. I'm excited to do this. This was my vision for this channel the whole time. Basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting the books in this video and then I'm going to read them and talk about them on the podcast and talk about them here on my YouTube channel. So this week we have a very exciting guest on Book Talk, etc. We're talking to Nadia from the Storygraph. If you don't know, the Storygraph is a reading tracker. It was created by a Black British woman and we have the pleasure of interviewing her in real time. I'm recording this about a week before, and so what Hannah and I thought would be fun is to use the Storygraph's features, where Storygraph can recommend books for readers based on whatever criteria you choose. So Hannah and I are going to use the Storygraph to help pick our books for this week and talk about them on this show. And I can't wait for our conversation. I'm very excited. I've been using the Storygraph now, I think for 2 going on 3 years. I also still use Goodreads kind of for the social connection, but I'm also very curious to see where Storygraph is going to go. I know they've got a lot of updates coming out. I personally love their features. I don't find it hard to use at all, but I think it is something that takes time. So I'm actually going to share my screen and show you all what it looks like to use some of their recommended features. I am a Plus member, which I think is $4.99 a month, but if you're a free member, you can use some of these features too. I've actually done this before and gotten some good recommendations from them. So let's see what books Storygraph recommends me to read for this week. All right, so I'm so excited. Actually, the Storygraph has a couple of different ways that they allow for you to get recommendations from them. I will admit it's a little hard to find. It took me a moment to remember how to do it. But basically, if you click on the logo here on the upper left-hand side, scroll down to recommendations. And this one is going to give you personalized recommendations. It is using AI, but they use the data that you input into Storygraph to figure out what books you might like. Click on Advanced Search. And this is how you start the first survey. I've already done one, but I wanted to do one and record it for YouTube. What you can do with this is tell Storygraph what you're in the mood for. You can also recommend books with similar themes or feels. So you really want to think about like what you're in the mood for. I don't know. Let's see. I'm kind of, I'm in the mood for mystery and thriller, something about January. I want cozy. I want cold. I want, atmospheric. So I'm going to put something with a similar feel to, God, what should I do? Dead of Winter. So I'm going to put Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I loved that one. Let me see if I can just do cold and if it'll jog my memory for a book that I've read that I would want to have a similar vibe to. I did like the Book of Cold Cases. That could be fun. That's pretty vibey. All right, we'll do Book of Cold Cases. And those are more, that'll do. You can do up to 3 books. And then what mood do I want? Dark. I would love mysterious, tense, sad, reflective. And it could be any of the selected moods. I've done this before with all of these selected moods. And obviously, the more criteria you put into it, the harder it might find for it to make a recommendation. Reading preferences, take my preferences into account. I'm going to unclick that. Pace, I want medium or fast. I want fiction. And you can include genre or exclude. And I'm going to keep it short because I only have a week to read these books. And I also have to read a book for my in-person book club. So under 300, I'll even go 300 to 499. Let's see, for themes, topics, tropes, locked room, mystery, winter, cold cases. Don't show me books in my to read pile, or don't show me books I own. I want the opposite, actually. I want them to show me the ones I own, but let's see what we get. I'm so excited. Hopefully it's going to give me a book that I already own. Also, this will give you several options. So it's not like you're just getting, one option from this. Depending on how many criteria you select, right? If you're super specific, you might only get one, but let's see what it gives me. Okay. My results are in. Let's see what we've got. The Woman in Black, a ghost story. I think that makes perfect sense. The Alienist, that one's a little long. I wanted under 300. Kill Creek, I've heard of. Lock the Doors. I don't support J.D. Barker, so I won't be reading that. The Southern Book Club Guides to Slaying Vampires is interesting. I've never read that. I should have excluded young adult because I don't want a young adult right now. I've actually never read The Shining, which is insane. I would totally do it for this episode, but I don't have time to read 700 pages almost. Winter People, I've heard of. House of Hunger, I've heard of. Unfortunately, it looks like I don't own any of these. 19 Claws and a Blackbird, I might own, actually. So that's an option. Lakewood, I've always been curious about. Never Whistle at Night. I know that one. From Below, Darcy Coates. We got a ton of options. Bunny, I did not care for. Just did not understand it. The Honeys I've heard of and had been curious about. Year of the Witching. Wonderland I've heard of. The Picture of Dorian Gray. I didn't realize it was so short. I thought it was way longer than that. Let's see. More Darcy Coates, which is an option. I actually own Dream Girl somewhere. Let's see. You know what? Let's do this. I'll start to add. You know what? I've actually seen this book too, 13 Stories by Jonathan Sims, which is my husband's name almost. So I'm curious about that. Okay, let's add the ones that I have a little bit of an interest in. I've heard of Sisters and had been curious of that. Let's see. Uh-oh, I think I froze my screen. Oh, there we go. Ooh, Jackal's an option. Oh my God, I got a lot of options here. Tripping Arcadia, I've heard of. What is this? They, a sequence of unease. That's curious. A little spooky spook. Okay. Oh, let's see. White Smoke. Oh, shit. Guess what? It's actually sitting next to me on my TBR cart. Maybe this is my choice. I mean, I do love Tiffany D. Jackson. It's literally sitting right in front of me. And it is going to, okay, I think this is going to be the winner. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, a lot of good ones here. I've been curious about this thing Between Us forever. Let me add that to my TBR. I forgot about it. I also want to say it's right now January 3rd as I'm recording this, and I know a lot of people have been on Storygraph. It is a little slower than it typically is. So, if you're a little bit frustrated with the ease of use, just know it's not always quite this slow. It does have a lot of functionality though, so I would rather it take a little time to load. Gosh, there's so many books on this list. This one's, I like the cover of this one. What's this one about? As Long as We Both Shall Live. A twisty thriller, complex, intricate plots and marriages as tangled as they are toxic. Okay. Add it to the TBR. Oh my gosh, there's so many. The Perfect Child I've wanted to read for a long time too. Sometimes I have this like fear that I've read all of the good books that I'm ever going to read, which I know is insane. But this is proving to me, obviously, I have nothing to be worried about. Okay, I'm going to come up with my TBR, although I am really leaning toward White Smoke. I mean, it's truly right next to me and it's on my TBR cart, so I feel like that has to be the answer, right? Right. Okay. You know what? That's it. That's going to be the first one. Now, the other way that you can get recommendations is based on your to read pile. So it can tell you, what you should read next based on, I don't know, actually. I don't know what it's based on. Let's get some suggestions. Oh yeah. Okay. I want them from my to read pile. That's what it's doing. Okay. It's giving you suggestions based on what you have in your to read pile. We picked this one from your Storygraph recommendations. Enjoy. I've had Shelter on my list for a long time. So I'll just add it to my list. Real life, Brandon Taylor is a random pick. Honor, you own this one and it's been on your to read list for the longest. Why not give it a try? I think I donated it, but I like that it does that. You're doing great with your reading goal right now. You can afford to spend some time with a longer read. I love that it encourages you to do that. I do plan to read this one this year. I just don't have time for it this week. Cemetery Boys for the diverse baseline. Long Bright River. This matches the mood and pace perfectly. Stars in Your Eyes. All My Rage. A Lot Like Adios. Okay. Prefer to Do Your Own Thing. This one has been shelved by the least number of users. Okay, none of these are calling to me. I'm going to go back, actually, I think, and just stick with recommendations, but I'm going to ask for something totally different. Oh, look. What's advanced search? Okay, that's what I did previously. Um, Based on your survey, based on recent reads, similar users loved literary picks, crime picks, memoir, contemporary, thriller, out of your comfort zone. Oh my gosh, I love that they do that, that they give you an out of your comfort zone. Yes, totally out of my comfort zone, just based on the covers here. So I'm going to do another survey, but I'm going to give it different criteria. I want something very not cozy, but I want to love the characters. You know, I always love my character-driven novels. Let's get that off. All right. Books with a similar feel to Hello, Beautiful, and Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. I always use those, I feel, but I can never get enough. This one I want emotional, inspiring, lighthearted, informative, maybe a little funny, a little reflective, hopeful. I mean, I'm asking for a lot here. Any of the selected moods. I'm going to keep my reading preferences here and go, I want medium or fast, fiction, exclude young adult. I don't want any young adult. Pages 300 or less, or 3 to 499. Let's see what they give me. Okay, roll the dice, baby. This is so fun. I recommend that you do this on your own just for the laughs. All right, let's see what books they recommended to me. Ooh, okay, let's see what books they recommended to me. Absolutely not. Maybe the lighthearted, I messed things up. Not interested. I did not like this one. This one I read already. Weird. Meet Me at the Lake. Uh, Chemistry, Wakey Wang. I was interested in that one. I am not feeling any of these. Probably because I picked Delawed's Destiny I was interested in. I still am. I don't have a copy of it. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to take off funny. I'm going to take off informative. And I'm going to exclude romance because I don't want to read romance right now. Okay. Let's see if this gets me anywhere. And I like that you can play with it. Again, it's a little slow. It's kind of freezing my computer. Search. Let's see what we get. Oh boy, cat lady. The benefits of being an octopus. The octopi are really having a year in 2025. Things I wish I told my mother. I've never heard of any of these, which is a good thing. Small Worlds. I really want to read that one. I think I have a copy of Open Water, not Small Worlds. Reading list, Honey Girl again. The library. I've heard good things about The Collective Regrets of Clover. I do not have a copy of that. I don't want middle grade either. I think I have the Connellys of County Down somewhere. Again, Delywood's Destiny. I feel like someone recommended this to me recently, The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post. Heather, was that you, my friend? I swear, I think somebody just recommended that book to me in person, I think. Let's check my phone. And I took a screenshot of it. I don't remember because it was New Year's Eve. So, details were a tiny bit fuzzy. No shit. Oh my gosh. All right, that's my book. That's crazy. Creepy. All right, that's going to be my book. Now, do I have a copy? I do not. But I will add it to my to-read list and see if I cannot get it, if there is a backup that pleases and sparkles on here. Oh, ooh, Sparks Like Stars is oh, that's 464. I'm going to add it to my to-read list, but I don't think I have time for that. Gentleman in Moscow. Okay. Dearly Beloved was one that I know I've been meaning to read, and people were talking really highly of it. Okay, let's see if there's any other Small Joys. I actually have that book. That is an option. That is an option. I've heard of some, a few of these. Okay. Mad Honey, I've been really curious about. I do have a copy of that as well. So maybe that's the one I do, because I have a copy of it. I wonder if you guys are shouting at your screen, like, just pick one. This feels like there's high stakes here. That was so much fun. I'm delighted that I got to use Storygraph and their fun recommendation features. So here are the two books that I settled on. One is Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylin. And I know this book has some critique. I also know what the big twist is in this one, but I want to see for myself. I've been loving what Jodi Picoult has been saying online lately, and I want to read it. I'm curious. I have a nonfiction pairing that I'm going to pair with this one after I finish it, but I'm very curious about it. Fun fact, they sent this to us in PR, and when they sent it, it had honey in it, and honey exploded all over the package. So my book has the sweet, sweet smell of honey, which, I think it's atmospheric. I think it's appropriate. I also went ahead and picked a 450-page book for my challenge, and I got to read this by Thursday because that's when we record with Nadia. So wish me luck. Not only that, I will also be finishing and reading White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. Love Tiffany D. Jackson. She's one of my favorite authors, and this one I just had. I had not read it. In fact, I don't know anything about it other than I know that it is her take on horror. And it looks like a woman or a girl is moving with her mom to a new house, and she now has to share her room with her stepsister, but the house has its secrets, which is great. That is one of my catnip tropes. I love a house with a good secret, so we shall see. I also went ahead and picked another long book. This one is 373 pages, but this book's short. It's little, right? This one's huge comparatively. So wish me luck, man. I set myself up for this. I have to read 3 books by Thursday, 2 for the podcast, and then 1 because I'm hosting a book club in person with my friends. So let's go. I just started this one, White Smoke, Tiffany D. Jackson. And I'm not going to lie, initial thoughts, it's a haunted house trope, but I love Tiffany D. Jackson, so I'm going to read whatever she wants. But initial thoughts, I'm like, okay, I'm not sure about this. It seems the main character has, you might know, OCD or some sort of mental health disorder. That's not the problem, but her fixation is bed bugs, which is, it gives me the creeps. But that's a good vibe, right, for a horror book. So far, so good. The family is moving into this home that the mom gets as a part of her job. It's sort of this subsidized community, but they get a home for free, but the home's vibes are off. But let's see where this goes. All right, what I like about this so far is that you're just dropped right into the action. There's really no preamble. You're literally in the car, walking in the door to this family's new home. There's a lot of good family tension. Marigold is your main character. She's the girl with anxiety. It looks like she's been receiving treatment for it. Tiffany D. Jackson's doing a really good job portraying anxiety and obsessive thoughts and sort of the coping mechanisms that she's using. She's also, of course, missing her friends back home. They came from California and they're moving now to the Midwest, which is going to, I think, have a play into this story. There's also some creepy neighbors. There's also some racial tension going on because it looks like they came from a very white neighborhood. They're moving now to a neighborhood that has more Black residents. And so they're sort of, she's processing that. And I'm also enjoying the tension. It is a blended family, so it looks like their dad lives overseas. So there's two blood, brother and sister, and then they have this stepsister who is 10 years old and a real brat. And it looks like the house is sort of doing things when they're sleeping. So anyway, I will check back in when I have more complete thoughts. These are just my initial gut reactions. All right, I just finished White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson, and this is the very reason why I love doing the podcast and having these little challenges that we set out to do each week, because I had this on my physical TBR, probably would not have picked it up this year for no real reason. It just wouldn't have risen to the top because I was like, we'll see, whatever. I want to be a Tiffany D. Jackson completist at some point, but I just never picked this up. I'm so glad I did. It was excellent. My goodness. I flew through it in about 2 days, and what I like, at first I was not sure about Marigold as our main character. She has this fixation of bed bugs. She's also very into marijuana, and it's sort of something that she's like continuously trying to access throughout the book. But you come to figure out why that is. You come to figure out sort of the experiences that she's had in her life and the reason that they had to leave their small hometown in California and move to the Midwest. This book is so much more than you think it's going to be. It's not your typical haunted house story. It's social horror. If you liked the book When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, I think this one is perfect for that. It also has like a little bit of a Get Out type vibe. It has a lot of secrets. There's a fair amount of reveals in this one. I will say it's very YA. So if you're not typically a YA reader, just know that she does a really good job with the language of somebody that's like, in high school. You really do feel like you're reading about young characters because you are. I quite liked it though. I gave it 4, maybe 4.25 stars overall, but I really enjoyed it. I am almost a Tiffany D. Jackson completist at this point. I actually have to look and see. I did Allegedly, gave that one 5 stars. Monday's Not Coming, 4 stars. Grown was so tough to read. I read it a while ago. I think I gave it 4 stars. My very favorite of hers though is called The Weight of Blood. This one came after this one. That one's a full 5 star for me. So this one is somewhere toward the top, but she can't write a bad book. One of my favorite authors, and I'm really, really glad that the Storygraph challenge made me pick it up. All right, I'm starting my second book for this week, and it's Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylin. And I don't know, let's see, about 70 pages in, and it's good. I am loving it so far. I know the lore of this one, or I know that there's sort of big reveals in this one. That might be a spoiler for some, but I was spoiled to it, and it doesn't matter. But right now it is about 2 moms and their children, and they're dating. So it's the daughter is named Lily and the son is named Asher, and something horrible happens to Lily. You come to find out that she dies, and they think that Asher is responsible. And that's basically it. I'm a little bit worried. It's making me really, really sad because the son, they're like in their, they're 18, I think, in this book. And the mom, Olivia, is a great character so far. She's talking about what it feels like to have your like child grow up and they pull away from you. And that's life. That's the best case scenario, is that they grow up and leave you, or like grow up and like form their own opinions and things. But I could cry right now thinking about it, even though half the time with my girls, I'm like, oh, give me space, right? But they will someday, and I'll be wishing for those moments where they're clinging to me. The thing I love about Jodi Picoult's books, in my experience, I've read a ton of them. I should actually look back and see how many of those I've read. You get hooked right away. Like, she's such an easy writer. It's contemporary fiction, it's book club fiction, and in some cases that's my very favorite type of reading to experience, because it's easy, right? But it still has depth. I don't want anything that's too easy breezy, you know, for everyday reading. I want something that has a little bit of depth, a little bit of bite, makes me feel all of the emotions, and this one is definitely going to do that. And I'm going to read you a quote to give you the vibe. "We're so lucky to have our children, even for a little while, but we take them for granted. We make the stupid assumption that as long as we are here, they will be too, though that's never been a part of the contract." Like, yeah, that's the vibe you're getting with this book. So far, so good. I'm very much enjoying it, and I am worried for the characters. I've done it. I finished 2 books in the course of 4 days, so I'm very proud of myself. But the book that I just finished is Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylin. And I am so happy that I read this. Honestly, I was very wary because I heard mixed things. And the biggest worry that I had was that it was going to be problematic, because it's about this boy and girl that are dating, and one of the authors is trans, and the book covers a lot of issues of sexuality and gender, and I mean it covers a lot. There is a big twist in the book that's not really a spoiler. It happens at some point in it, and I think it threw a lot of readers off. I had been alerted to the twist a long time ago and knew about it. What I think this book did really well, it gets you to care about the characters. It really gets you to sort of live, or as much as you can through fiction, live in somebody's experience that you would not otherwise get to. I loved the mystery. I was very curious to hear what happened to the one character, and to see what was going to happen to the male character. And I'm trying to be very vague because I don't have the book in front of me, and I cannot remember what the synopsis does say and what it reveals. But it also reminded me that I have this overly specific interest. I love this subgenre where you have a family and one of the members, like usually the kid, the teenager, gets accused of a crime. And I love books that unpack what that would feel like as a parent to have your kid on trial. I love books that have, that are legal thrillers and that put you in the courtroom, make you questioning everything. And that's what this book did. I had my suspicions. I actually guessed what was going to happen with this, but it didn't diminish my interest at all. Content warnings for this one. There's definitely abuse and discussion of abuse in this one. There's also homophobia. But overall, I think this book was really interesting. Don't miss the author's note. I loved hearing from the 2 authors about how this book came to be. The idea for this came to one of the authors in a dream. And she said, "I just had a dream that I wrote a book with Jodi Picoult," and she tweeted it. And then lo and behold, this book came to pass several years later. So I highly recommend this one. I am going to pair it though with some nonfiction picks, specifically He, She, They. I think is going to be one that I'm adding to my TBR for this year, because I want to understand more. I want to unpack more. And that one I know is recommended to me from someone who has a trans child, and I think it would be a good resource. But I will say this one is book club fiction. It can be pretty heavy-handed in parts. It definitely was hard to read through some sections, particularly Lily's sections, but I think overall it was a very well-crafted book that kept me on the edge of my seat, and I couldn't stop reading. I technically did this one on audio, and it was a good experience. Also, Everand update. If you know me, you know that I'm an Everand hater. I was desperate for this. I'm trying to do a low by 2025. And so I needed this title. There were several, weeks wait on Libby, which is my normal go-to. And I'm like, let me give Everand another shot. I think I have a free trial. And they changed their business model. So what I liked about the new Everand business model is that they give you 3 unlocks. And from what I can tell, those unlocks can be used on any of their titles. They also say it's unlimited because there's other titles which were really hard to find and none that I saw that I would want to pick up anytime soon. But I like that you get 3 unlocks with this. So I might consider keeping my membership. You get 3 for $16.99 a month. That will cut into my book budget of $250 for the year, but it could be worth it, especially if I'm using it, especially since since I often need to read like for timeline for the podcast. The playback though sucks. It's not my favorite. It does go up to 3 times the speed, I think, which I know a lot of people will like because it goes pretty fast. What I don't like about their playback is that it cuts off. Randomly, I'll be listening to it and it'll just pause. It also does not connect to my Uconnect in my Jeep, in my car, which is irritating, but that's not, it's my car's problem, not the app. So maybe I'm not such an Everand hater. I don't know. Maybe I still am. But I'm not a Mad Honey hater. That one I recommend. Well, we just finished recording with Nadia from the Storygraph. She is so incredible. She's so personable. And I implore you, give Storygraph a shot because she just is so cool. It's a solely Black female owned and developed reading tracker website, and it has so many features. I feel like a lot of people have criticism about it because they find it that it's not super user friendly or intuitive. And my thing would be just try it, learn it, right? Just sort of poke around with it. And the reason why it's not so basic is because there are so many features. I wanted to share with y'all the 2 features that Nadia pointed out that are sort of their newer things that they've been really excited about. Of course, they've got the stats. Of course, they've got reading challenges and things like that. But specifically, if you click on the community tab on Storygraph, there's 2 new features. You can do buddy reads and you can do read-alongs or book clubs. And I am not a part of any of them, so I have not played around with this function, but I wanted to mention it because I didn't even know it existed. What's really cool about the buddy reads function is you can set it up with anybody. You can invite whoever you like. And what you do is you don't have to start the book at the same time. You can start the book, set up the buddy read, and then each, however many checkpoints you want to make, you can set up a checkpoint, and then the person can stop and say, here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if it's this. And the buddy read that you're reading it with doesn't see that until they get to the point and unlock it. That is brilliant and something I'm definitely going to incorporate. I wonder if I should do a buddy read for the YouTube channel and have just a buddy read feature over in Storygraph and see if y'all want to read along with me, because you don't have to do it at the same time. Anytime you pick up that book, you can click on it. I'm intrigued and I want to play more around with it. Hopefully I'm not misrepresenting it because I'm just now understanding it. Read-alongs, there are read-alongs that people have set up in here as well. And that's where you say, okay, we're going to read Pride and Prejudice January 5th through January 31st. And you can jump in there. There are some live ones, and I also imagine you can set those up as well. But overall, I'm a big fan, and I'm so excited for y'all to listen to this episode we did with Nadia. I didn't do the video. It's a podcast, so you'll have to go to Book Talk, etc., and listen to this week's podcast if you want to hear it. I will link that in the show notes. Also, I am going to link their social media accounts here in my notes because they are just so community focused, so user focused. And I was blown away by how everything they do as a company is reader first, user first. And they take comments, they take feedback. Nadia is the owner and operator, and she is on Threads replying to people and taking feedback. And she is so gracious, was so fun to talk to. And I'm really proud of this episode. So even if you're not a podcast listener and you prefer YouTube, head to the podcast, listen to our recording, and just listen to Nadia talk about the Storygraph. Very impressive, such a cool woman. And she has a British accent, which, I just got this Midwest thing going on. I think you'll really enjoy hearing from her. But thank you so much for being here. As always, if you are not subscribed already, please be sure to like and subscribe so this video can be found by other users. But I'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye. It's a cold. Fuck. Oh my God, that scared me so bad.